Hello, everybody. This is Secular Sekai with Tridents Against Tyrants, and we have some news today. It is day 884 of the illegal invasion of Ukraine by the Orc Federation of Moscovia. If you can hear me, give me a plus plus in chat. It's good to see everybody. My audio might be a little different today. I'm currently traveling a little bit, so I've got my mobile setup. So I got two screens instead of three, and I've got my headset on right now because I was dashing in a hurry to get to the stream today. Because as usual, I always have a million and one things that are back to back to back, and yeah, I hope that changes soon. I really do. But in any case, I see Anna, Keith Kane, It Wasn't Me, Kay Hansen, JP Van Eck, UTV and Ham, uh, KK's GG. Good to see you. Uh, and I think that's everyone I see right now in chat, but thank you and welcome everybody. All right, I shared to a few places, but not everywhere. So if you have a chance, I guess Discord, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you usually share different things like YouTube streams. If you want anyone wants to do that, it'd be greatly appreciated. And we're gonna go ahead and jump right into it with the headline piece of news in the title of this video. So let me pull this up. All right. Oh, no, I can't change the size of that. There we go. Indian Prime Minister Modi, Narendra Modi, to visit Ukraine in August, media reports say. Now, this is something that I actually really wanted to talk about because it's significant. Ukraine had and Russia have both, in different ways, been trying to court India in the court of international public opinion on the matter of this conflict for quite a while. And that's because India is a country of weight and influence on the world stage. And India is a country that does a very good job in many different ways of walking a fine line, balancing relations and alliances of different kinds, economic, social, military, with various different countries who often have competing ideologies, governments, and really just general long-standing rivalries, uh, while also having their own regional and global ambitions and rivalries, um, such as with Pakistan and also with China. So let's take a look at this right quick. All right, from the K of Indo. Oh, first let me put the article into the chat as usual. Also, let me check that I have the description cleaned up. I don't think it. Yeah, it might still have some of the articles from last time. All right, there we go. All right, so Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is scheduled to travel to Kiev in August 2022, marking his first visit to Ukraine since Russia launched its all-out war in February 2022. The visit, still in the planning stages, is expected to occur in the third week of August, likely sometime around Ukraine's Independence Day, according to WION. I have my own opinions about WION as a news source, but they are big, and they do have a voice that is listened to by many, many people in and outside of India. India's English language news channel, who spoke with several sources in Delhi's diplomatic circles. Earlier this year, President Volodymyr Zelensky extended an invitation to Modi during a telephone conversation. Oh, hey, Yana's here. Good to see you. And Melissa Kane as well. Thank you for joining. Um, Yeah, earlier this year, President Volodymyr Zelensky extended an invitation to Modi during a telephone conversation. This month witnessed high-level exchanges between the two countries. External Affairs Minister Subramanyam Jaishankar and Ukraine's Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba, as well as National Security Advisor Ajit Doval and his Ukrainian counterpart Andriy Yermak, held telephone discussions. Following these talks, Jaishankar shared on social media that the discussions focused on further developing our bilateral relationship. In June, Modi met with Zelensky in Italy during the G7 summit. They discussed the ongoing situation in Ukraine, with Modi emphasizing the importance of dialogue and diplomacy. He reiterated that India would continue to support a peaceful resolution, according to the meeting's official handout. This marked the second in-person meeting between the two leaders since the all-out war began, the first being at last year's G7 summit in Japan. Given the closure of Ukrainian airspace, world leaders have been traveling to Ukraine via Poland. It is expected that Modi will follow this route and hold discussions with Polish leadership, including Prime Minister Donald Tusk, ahead of his visit to Ukraine. Now, this is just a small step, and it's not anything huge like India signaling major support to Ukraine in this conflict or a breaking of ties with Russia. But it is still a head turner because remember, Russia does still have plenty of weapons that they are selling and making money off of on the world stage, and India for many years has purchased rather affordable, I might add, Russian weapons from the Muscovite Federation. Fake Federation, I will say. But with their performance, not just tactically, but also in terms of their equipment being not horrible, but in several cases a bit mediocre in terms of their quality during this conflict in Ukraine, I believe that the nation of India is looking at a few things. One, kind of a soft testing of the waters to see how Russia will react, and maybe start speaking with a few other countries about sourcing weapons, diversifying their portfolio in terms of arms procurement. And two, kind of continuing with their own long-term strategy of not strategic ambiguity, but strategic, I guess one could say, middleman positioning. It's kind of a similar strategy to Turkey in that they have their own goals and ambitions, but they are willing to work with multiple countries that are quite different from one another politically in order to achieve their means. I mean, every country of influence does that, but I believe that India is one in particular people could put a lens and hyper focus on because there's a long-standing history of such international diplomacy, foreign policy. All right, now then, I just wanted to mention that. Keep an eye on it as it develops, and we will move on to the next news. But first, oh hey, Anton is here. Hey, welcome, Anton. Always glad to see you, my friend. All right. Before we continue on with more news, though, I do want to mention we are at 5,196.69 hryvnia of our remaining 1,740,035. If anyone would like to contribute, our Buy Me a Coffee is in the lower left, and of course, there's also PayPal, which, oh, let me turn that on. There we go. If you search for Anton's Gmail on PayPal, then you should be able to find it. Donations via PayPal can be made there. And finally, in the description of the video, if you're in Ukraine or a country where Monobank works, we also have the direct donation link using Monobank. So all three of those options are available. All right, now, without further ado, let's take a look at the next news. Let me pull it up. Oh, here we go. All right, well, we have a sad story. We're going to cover it right quick, also from the Kiev Independent. Because we can't just cover positive news, we have to cover in a war, of course, any war, especially this war. There are headlines that perhaps we don't want to see, but it's important to acknowledge them and to cover the news. So, Ukraine from the Kiev Independent, putting it into the chat right now. Ukrainian athletes who will never have a chance to compete at the Olympics. All right, let's go into reader mode. Audiences from across the world tuning into the Olympics, kicking off with this Friday's opening ceremony in Paris, should, as they enjoy the show, be conscious of why Ukraine will not be fully represented this summer and at future athletic competitions. Among the tens of thousands of Ukrainians killed by Russia's full-scale invasion launched more than 2 years ago are excuse me, 488 Ukrainian athletes and coaches, according to Ukraine's Youth and Sports Ministry. Every athlete killed by Russia is a tragedy for the entire Ukrainian sports family, Ukraine's acting sports and youth minister, Matvey Bidny, said at a press conference ahead of the Olympic Games. These crimes are not only targeting our sports, but it is also an aggressor's attempt to attack our national identity, he added. Some Ukrainian athletes, titled and promising young ones, as well as coaches, were killed by Russian airstrikes or were shot by the Russian military in occupied territories. Others have died in battle after shedding their sports gear for army uniforms to defend their homeland against an invader that has been open about the intent to destroy Ukraine as a nation and independent people. And also, I want to highlight the fact that this is focusing on athletes because, of course, the Olympics are coming up. But I mean, writers, painters, artists of various different calibers and mediums, game developers. One of the head developers of the famous old Stalker franchise, the original released in the early 2000s, uh, died fighting in the Ukrainian armed forces over the course of this conflict. Um, Tens of thousands, guys, all with different occupations. Um, you know, all contributing to Ukrainian and global society in various ways. Some of those who have passed having been quite famous and who appeared regularly in interviews or on Ukrainian or sometimes even international television broadcasts. Yeah, it's been a big loss. All right, let's continue. None of them will ever be able to represent Ukraine on the international level again or train a new generation of talented athletes, except those who suffered serious injuries and will, as a result, stand a chance of representing Ukraine in future Paralympic Games. According to the International Olympic Committee, 15 Russians and 17 Belarusians will participate in the Paris Olympics. They will compete as, quote, individual neutral athletes, only in individual disciplines, and will not be allowed to use any national symbols related to their countries. That is something that's been in place for a while, and that is a small victory, but the major victory would be them not even being allowed to compete as individual neutral athletes. Because as many of us know, a lot of those who compete as in quote individual neutral athletes aren't really all that neutral. There's often an incentive to do so by governments who aren't allowed to compete at the Olympics under their own flag. Uh, in this case, of course, in particular, Russia and Belarus. I mean, if they wanted to get citizenship in another country and compete for someone else, I mean, that's dedication and actually a signifier, maybe, of those particular athletes saying, I don't stand with Russia in any way, shape, or form, and I'm willing to live somewhere else in the world and be a part of a different society to prove that. Even then, there could be a loophole system, but still. that would be my personal preference, but anyway, I'm not happy that these athletes from Russia and Belarus will be participating. Both states earned much more place quotas to compete in Paris, but the International Olympic Committee did not allow dozens of athletes to participate as they were affiliated with the military and security forces of Russia and Belarus or supported Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's very good to hear, actually. So there were supposed to be many, many more athletes, but they were disqualified. That is actually something that makes me very happy to hear. And, I'll add a small asterisk caveat to my previous statement. If those, 32 people who are of Russian and Belarusian nationality really are neutral or are even against the war and are disliked by Putin and Lukashenko, then more power to them. But if that's not the case, which is what I fear, then yeah, that we shall see. I'll have to do more research on that. Among the Ukrainian athletes killed by Russia's war are 13 European and world champions. At least 50 athletes were killed in acts that amount to war crimes committed by Russian troops during the occupation of Ukrainian territories, the ministry said. Here are some of them. Fedir Yepifanov, and also my apologies since Ukrainian is not my first language. If I mispronounce any of these names, I deeply apologize, but the spelling and their faces will be here, so if I do, someone please correct me. Fedir Yepifanov. Several Ukrainian athletes joined the military at a very young age. Fencer Fedir Yepifanov joined the Ukrainian armed forces when he turned 18, the legal age to serve in the military in Ukraine. A promising fencer, Yepifanov, a multiple medalist and winner of national competitions, began his service from the first days of the full-scale invasion. In 2022, he suffered a gunshot wound but later returned to service. In December 2023, Yepifanov was killed by a Russian FPV drone in the village of Verbove in Zaporizhia Oblast. He was 1 month away from turning 20 years old. Fedir's whole life was ahead of him, if not for the Russian invaders who started the war, his fencing friend Yaroslav Zli wrote on Facebook. Volodymyr Androshuk, pictured here. Decathlete Volodymyr Androshuk was a member of the Ukrainian national track and field team and a champion of Ukraine in the U20 age group. In the same age group, he took 6th place at the 2020 European Championships. Androshuk was preparing to compete for Ukraine at the 2024 Paris Olympics, but when the full-scale war broke out, he left his sports career and signed a contract with the army. He served in an assault group. Age 22, he was killed on January 25th, 2023 in the battles near the village of Yampolivka in Donetsk Oblast. He gave his young life for the sake of another dream of his, to see Ukraine as an unconquered, free, independent European state with a decent life for its long-suffering people. Androshuk's native Letychiv community in Khmelnytsky Oblast wrote in his memory. Maxim Galinichev, pictured here. With one of his medals. And here in the trenches. Reminds me of another young man I've known in the past, actually. Maxim Galinichev, before and after joining the Ukrainian Armed Forces. Galinichev refused to participate in the European Boxing Championships in May 2022 and joined the airborne assault troops of Ukrainian forces. Galinichev was wounded twice but returned to service. He was killed at the age of 22 on March 10th, 2023 during combat operations in Luhansk Oblast. Oh, also, before I continue, I just want to say hello to Annette. I'm kind of juggling multiple things, but I see that she has joined and greatly appreciate her being here. As well as Mitch Ashdown, Mark Sangamon, and Amonsky Amarski, Cheryl Watley, and all others. Oh, James is here from Why Ukraine the Last Alliance. Speaking of which, he will have a stream in 25 minutes, so please go take a look. Welcome, everybody. And let's continue onward. Galinichev refused to participate in the European Boxing Championships in May 2022 and joined the airborne assault troops of Ukrainian forces. Galinichev was wounded twice but returned to service. He was killed at the age of 22 on March 10, 2023 during combat operations in Luhansk Oblast. During his boxing career, Maxim won silver at the 2018 Youth Olympics in the 56-kilogram weight category. In 2017, he became the European Youth Champion, and in 2021, he won a silver medal at the European U22 Boxing Championships. First and foremost, I was motivated to continue my sports career by the desire to provide a future for my children, to make my family proud of me, Galinichev said in an interview with the Ukrainian Boxing Federation a few months before the outbreak of the all-out war. Despite my young age, I already have my own family. I have a little daughter, Vasilisa, who will turn 2 in February of 2022. Alexander Pielyashenko, pictured here, before and after joining the armed forces. Weightlifter Alexander Pielyashenko joined the Ukrainian armed forces in 2022. Russia's full-scale invasion was his second direct experience of war, as in 2014 he was forced to leave his homeland in Luhansk Oblast during the first Russian invasion that year that saw it occupy parts of the eastern Donbass region and Ukraine's Crimean Peninsula. Despite serving in the army, Pielyashenko, a two-time European champion and finalist at the Rio de Janeiro 2016 Olympics, hoped to return to his athletic career, wrote the Angels of Sports project, a requiem for fallen Ukrainian athletes, but this wish remains unfilled. The weightlifter was killed on May 5th, 2024 during combat in eastern Ukraine. All right. Next, Alina Perehudova. Alina Perehudova in an updated photo from Twitter. Several Ukrainian athletes died in the Russian 2022 siege upon the Azov seaport city of Mariupol, which has been occupied and almost destroyed by Russian troops since May of 2022. Among those athletes was 14-year-old Alina Perehudova. Weightlifter Perehudova became Ukraine's champion in the U-17 age group when she was only 13. Despite her young age, the athlete was already on the list of candidates for the national team. A training camp involving Perehudova was supposed to begin on February 25, 2022, but then the full-scale invasion started. The weightlifter's coach, Ihor Obukov, told the Ukrainian media outlet Oboz Rivatel that he met Alina at the bus station on the way to her relatives in Mariupol at the beginning of the full-scale invasion. On February 28, 2022, Perehudova stopped contacting him. Later, Obukov learned from a relative of the weightlifter that she had been killed. She and her mother Natalia went outside and were hit by shell fragments. They both died at the scene. Kostya, Alina's brother, ran out after them and was killed by a sniper. There was only one grandmother left there, in Mariupol. We do not know her fate, Obukov said. And we are going to finish all of these out of respect for the dead and to honor their memory. We have a few more entries left in this article. Thank you for staying with us, everybody. Ivan Bidniak, pictured here. Shooter Ivan Bidniak, aged 36, was a member of Ukraine's national team. At the 50th anniversary World Shooting Championships, he took 7th place and was the first to win an Olympic quota place for Ukraine to compete at the London 2012 Olympics. A year after the Olympics, Bidniak won a silver and bronze medal at the European Championships. As soon as Russia's full-blown invasion started, Bidniak returned from abroad where he had been working and volunteered for the front. He served in Kherson Oblast and was shot dead by the Russian military, according to the National Olympic Committee of Ukraine's department in Lviv Oblast. Bidniak's son was 6 years old at the time. Stanislav Hulenkov, pictured here in his uniform with the Ukrainian flag embroidered as an emblem. Judoka Stanislav Hulenkov, a European Junior Cup medalist and winner of national competitions among cadets and youth, joined the ranks of Ukrainian border guards in 2021. Hulenkov, a native of Lutsk, a Ukrainian city near the Polish border, hoped to combine his sports career with service. In April 2023, Hulenkov went missing near the village of Novokalinove in Donetsk Oblast. The remains of the 22-year-old judoka were identified only 10 months later. Vadim Chernov, a close judo friend of Hulenkov, told Reuters that he tried to convince him to apply for leave from the army to attend the Ukrainian Cup, which took place in early May 2023. Hulenkov refused and went missing a few weeks before the tournament. He told me, "I cannot leave my brothers," Chernov said. In memory of his friend, Chernov carries a badge with Hulenkov's name on it to judo competitions. And that is the end of the article. Condolences to the families of all those lost, and thank you for everyone who continues to stand with and support Ukraine and the Ukrainian armed forces against this brutal invasion and this attempt to wipe out Ukrainian identity. I just want to ask for a brief moment of silence out of respect for those who have passed. All right. Thank you, everybody. And let us continue on with the next article. All right. So here is something that is a better piece of news to hear. Russian losses in Ukraine causing serious problems for recruitment, says Hur. Let's put this into reader mode. All right. So, key updates as of yesterday. Russian losses in Ukraine causing serious problems for recruitment, Hur says. Ukraine hit Russian airfield in occupied Crimea. Russia using new cheap drones to locate Ukraine's air defense, military intelligence says. This is significant because the Russians have kind of been adapting just as Ukrainians have been, and both sides have learned what should be expensive, expensive equipment that is has a lot of time and money put into it, and what should be cheap and quick to produce. Drones are definitely on that list of something that should be cheap and quick to produce and can be used to flood the enemy with literal armies of death from above. Which, until we reach a day where land and sea-based drones are as numerous as aerial drones, will still put human beings in harm's way very much on the battlefield. Inspection of Ukraine's 59th Brigade finds management issues, but no criminal charges laid. Demobilization could repeat Ukraine's mistake in 1918, Parliament Speaker says. Russian personnel and materiel losses in Ukraine are so high, the Kremlin is having serious problems recruiting new contract soldiers and is relying on decommissioning Soviet-era weapons as it cannot produce enough modern versions, Ukraine's military intelligence Hur spokesperson said on July 26th. Speaking on national TV, Andriy Yusov said the situation will soon have an impact on the frontline situation and Russia's ability to effectively wage war. Russian losses in Ukraine reached conflict highs during May and June, the UK Defense Ministry reported on July 12th, an intelligence report on X. The ministry said average daily Russian casualties, both killed and wounded, reached 1,262 and 1,163 in the 2 months, respectively. Guys, yeah, that is an insane number. That's not very far apart. That's what, less than 100 individuals in difference, and put it together, that's more than 2,400 per month killed and wounded. Yeah, that's, and still the Russians continue to throw their people into the meat grinder. I just want to make a quick aside statement and say all those who are, even if they're trying to escape a hard economic situation in other third countries, aside from Russia and Ukraine, anyone who's going to Russia and fighting on their behalf in hopes of Russian citizenship, all I can say is, why? This is madness. It truly is madness. On July 18th, President Volodymyr Zelensky said in an interview with the BBC that around 20,000 Russian troops were killed during Russia's failed offensive in Kharkiv Oblast. They can replenish these losses, Yusov said, adding, but there are already serious problems with the recruitment of new contract soldiers. The aggressor state is coming up with new incentives at various levels to attract new cannon fodder, but this machine is starting to malfunction. As Russia has sought to replenish its military, decimated by high losses in Ukraine, authorities have implemented financial perks to incentivize enlistment. Moscow Mayor Sergei Sobyanin signed a decree on July 23rd, establishing a one-time signing bonus of 1.9 million rubles for city residents who join the military. Now, again, as you can see on the page, for context, that may sound like a lot because it has the word million combined with the currency, but remember that the Russian ruble is so worthless now that almost 2 million of this currency is worth only 21,200 US dollars. Still though, $21,000, the equivalent. That is a large amount, and it shows that the government is getting desperate to find a way to get men out onto the battlefield. And it also shows another thing. Remember that Moscovia is a dictatorship. It is an authoritarian country that does not respect human rights, but at the same time, it is a country, and a country nonetheless, that is bound by the constraints of human nature. It is not one that has continued to try to promote a communist ideology, as the Soviet Union once did. It is very much a capitalist, but fascist capitalist state. And so money talks. Corruption is a big part of how the wheels of this disgusting war machine from Moscovia function. And what they're finding is it's not enough. It's not enough to get men out there knowing that they are going to die, and the chances of them coming back are very slim. And we've been reporting on this for 2 years. Many of you are already aware of this. But it's ramping up even more than it has been. Here's another, this is a separate article. That's the end of the first bit. We have multiple articles here, actually, that are under the same link. But let's see. Before we move on, let's do this. I'm going to check to see if we have any questions yet. Also, I'm going to do a poll. And here's how we're going to handle this. First. Let's see. Oh, 2 things. One, I need to double check my settings here. Okay, good. Yeah. Donation alerts are on right now. Perfect. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is come back to the topic of our fundraiser. And also we're going to do something that we did a week, 2 or 3 weeks ago, which just There hasn't been time for it because it's already almost 11, and we're going to overlap, unfortunately, a little bit with Why Ukraine, The Last Alliance. Uh, his stream is going to be starting in about 10 minutes. And then there will be a stream with the shills uh, in about 3 hours. Yeah, in about 3 hours, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, definitely keep those on your radar, everybody. Thank you very much, and show them some support. They do great work. They do great fundraising as well. But here's what we're going to start with. First, let me put on. We did get some donations via PayPal and or Monobank. We are at 6,428.69 hryvnia. I am going to make a donation myself right now because I'm financially able to at the moment. But the way I was going to donate just died because I have a bad habit of not keeping my phone charged. So, okay, here's what I'm going to do. Let me grab my charger and we'll reverse the order of this. One second. I'll be right back. Okay. While that charges, so I don't have to be fiddling with extra screens here on my computer during our stream. Before I make a donation to our fundraiser for the 110th Mechanized Brigade, I'm going to open a poll. And the poll is going to be for who we are going to make a donation to today among several different channels, units, who do great work and who could, I think, just use some additional support. We'll do a list of 3. And the way we're going to do this is the winner will get or whoever wins in the poll will get a donation of $50. The other 2 will get a donation of 20 each, and I'll be making a donation of 50 to our own fundraiser as well. So let's go ahead and get that ready. Oh yeah, Rick's also doing a stream today. I forget that Rick usually does a few personal things, spending time with some friends and family on Saturdays. But since streaming is his full-time job now, I know he does also do streams on Saturdays. So I don't know if he'll be joining us on the shows today. I don't believe he is, but yeah, I believe he does have a stream today as well. Saturday is just a popular day for streams. It honestly is. All right, let me start this poll. And for those of you who are going to be checking out the other streams that might overlap, I'll probably be turning them on in the background too. So if you're at a computer and you're able to have more than one stream open at the same time on separate tabs, have one of them muted, listen to another one, I invite you to do so. And I hope I'll see you over there in James' stream in 5 minutes, because we're not going to end early. We're going to keep going. But I'll also be keeping an eye on my chat and his chat. All right. So let's see. I have to recall who the other 2 I was going to put on here were. Let's see. Yeah, 3 hours. Yeah, for the shills. That sounds right. Okay. So first, okay. there's one option. Here's and of course, if you know anyone from once the poll goes up, if you know anyone from these communities, feel free to reach out and see, because this is on the fly. If anyone wants to come and join us for voting, because I'll keep it up for a few minutes. Let's see. We're going to include Yulia, because I believe I know she's got to have fundraisers going. She always does, especially for the 3rd Separate Assault Brigade, if I'm remembering correctly. Who else? Who has not gotten a donation in the past? We've given one, I believe, to Greg Terry. There was another week where it went to Rick, I believe. There was another week where it went to a few other groups. Let's see who else is there. We're gonna include, oh shoot. If anyone has any suggestions, feel free to put them in the chat, but I'm just putting this together real fast. You know what? I don't think the Shills actually have ever won, and I know we've got the Boom Boom Fund at the Shills, so we'll include the Shills as an option. And for the last one, I'm subscribed to so many channels, I'm trying to recall this last person. They are Canadian. I was literally on a stream with them over on Rick's channel 2 months ago, not that long ago, I want to say. But I have not seen his content in a bit. So, okay, I guess since that's the case, I'll have to try to recall this other channel who I'm so sorry, man, because you and I had a great talk, and I know he's actually been serving on the front lines. So I have a lot of respect for people who run channels and also are actively fighting to defend Ukraine, Europe, and world peace as a whole, in my opinion, in the Ukrainian armed forces. All right. For the last one, then, for today, we will do a donation to. Let's say. Let's say Andrew. Let's say Mercado Media. I know that he's got, always has donations going for NAFO trucks and other similar work. Andrew's a great guy, U.S. military veteran. So yeah, those will be the 3 options. Yulia, the Shills, and Mercado Media. That took me longer to decide than it should have. All right, poll is going up, and remember also that winner will get 50, everyone else is getting 20, so there will still be a donation to all of these choices. Okay, and the poll is started. Okay, while that poll is running, tip of the spiel. There's no current, hold on, there's no current Mercado Media campaign. We did one to wait, I'm fairly certain we did a donation to Project Constantine already in the past, but Harley's, yeah, as soon as I said donation suggestions in the chat, we got a whole bunch of suggestions. Yeah, we only went with 3 because it'll be a total of 140 that's getting donated. 50 to 50 to Tridents Against Tyrants, 50 to the winner of this, and then 20 more to the other two. So I'm just budgeting for what I can give right now without, spending all of my money because I've got I've got expenses that I've got coming up I have to take care of, including a few related to other projects that are meant to help benefit Ukraine and Ukrainian armed forces, and a few other international projects. Okay. Well, yeah. If Andrew doesn't have a campaign active right now, I do want to make a donation to him. But okay, well, it's looking like the polls so far, the biggest share of votes are going to the shills. So we'll see what the end result ends up being. Brandon, tip of the spear. I'm making a list right now of all those who haven't been donated to in the past, because I should actually keep a list of those who have. So Greg Terry was donated to 1 week. Made a donation to Rick, I believe, 1 week. Made a donation to let's see here, Rick. Yeah. Project Constantine was one that won in the polls 1 week, so there was a donation made to Project Constantine once on stream. And we're gonna. I mean, it's not like once a donation is made from these polls that channel, that group never will be on the polls again. If it's popular, if people really, really want it, then we will. But I'm just trying to be fair and go through the list of some of the people that I know. Harley, Pasha, the flashback. These are good ideas. I'm going to add these to those who can get donations in the future. Harley, EOD, tip of the spear. And also, of course, if there are specific units, not just YouTube channels, but actual units who could use funds directly, and they've got crypto or they've got PayPal or they've got other means of donating that seem legitimate, feel free to share those with me as well. Razom does great work in the political sphere. Yeah, that's true. James saying, not sure about the polls. I'll have to check. Ha 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 ha. Love you, man. Yep. You and I are cut from the same cloth of nerddom. That is very true. That's very obvious, I think. All right, let's also, while we're continuing this stream, we're going to move on to the next news article. Yeah, but let me pull up in the background. I know that James is starting his stream like momentarily, because I will also be moderating there while I'm finishing my stream. Okay. All right. Moving on. We'll leave the poll up for a little while, and we'll come back to it as we're getting close to ending the stream. Next article. Here's some political news relating to everyone's favorite prime minister and the the path he's taking his country down in relation to European and broader global relations. From the BBC, relating to Orban, Hungary stripped of EU meeting over Ukraine stance. Putting the article in chat. Janine Yes, Janine always has fundraisers going. That's a very good one. Thank you. Thank you, Anna. And I think I'll be talking with Andrew later today, probably. So I'll ask him, even if it's not something that's publicly. I mean, I assume any fundraiser he's doing is public, but if he's got anything going on that's related to assisting Ukraine, I'll make a donation to it. So, yeah. Anyway, we'll keep the poll as it is for now. All right, and let's share this. The European Union's foreign policy chief, Josep Borrell, has stripped Hungary of the right to host the next meeting of foreign and defense ministers over its stance on the war in Ukraine. It comes weeks after Hungary assumed the rotating presidency of the Council of the European Union, a role in which it would normally host the event and amid anger over a meeting Prime Minister Viktor Orban held with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow earlier this month. Mr. Borrell said Hungary's actions should have consequences and that, quote, we have to send a signal even if it is a symbolic signal. Hungary described the move as completely childish. Every 6 months under each new council presidency, the EU's foreign and defense ministers hold informal meetings to discuss the biggest global issues facing the bloc. The next set of meetings will take place on August 28th to 30th and were to be held in Budapest, but on Monday, Mr. Borrell announced they would instead take place in Brussels. Citing comments made after the meeting with Mr. Putin, in which Mr. Orban accused the EU of having a pro-war policy, Mr. Borrell told reporters, if you want to talk about the war party, talk about Putin. I can say that all member states, with one single exception, are very much critical about this behavior. That is true, even with Russian and hyper-conservative general forces across Europe trying to push countries like Slovakia or Bulgaria or even Italy to take a more critical stance that's more pro-Russian appeasement and policy. Yeah, mostly it's just been Hungary continuing to staunchly remain on that path. I think it was appropriate to show this feeling and to call for the next Foreign and Defense Council meetings in Brussels. Of the 26 other countries in the EU, only Slovakia has backed Hungary in the dispute. I spoke too soon. But yeah, even in Slovakia, it's been a pretty intense political battle on on topics similar to this. However, Luxembourg's foreign minister Xavier Bettel told reporters that he would go to Budapest because a boycott would be nonsense. Mr. Bettel felt that it was better to tell the Hungarians the EU was unhappy with their actions, as ignoring or not choosing dialogue would be a mistake. Polish Foreign Minister Radoslaw Sikorski proposed that the August meeting should take place in western Ukraine, but that idea was blocked by Budapest. So I'll let everybody take a look to finish the rest of the article on their own time. But basically, it's the same old childish behavior from the Hungarian Prime Minister and his Fidesz party, continuing to set a precedent where they're attempting to forge stronger financial and political ties with other countries, such as conservatives within Slovakian society who are upset with the EU as a whole and relations with other countries, such as Czechia or Czech Republic, for example, neighboring Slovakia. There's a lot of different angles to it, basically, but trying to build this wall of conservative, like, resistance, socially conservative resistance, and this weird recognition that openly calling Russia a friendly state or a major ally is a no-go. It's a very, very bad idea. But at the same time, recognizing that a lot of their political stances, Orban, Fico in Slovakia, several of these other individuals, they kind of align with the stances of Vladimir Putin and his fascist party. So, yeah, just your weekly reminder, everybody. Keep an eye on that, and let's hope that nations such as Hungary, Slovakia, and Italy do not end up on the wrong side of history and fall back into cycles of xenophobic populism, nationalism, and toxic self-isolation. Only time will tell. All right. Now, the next article I have is very important, I think. It's not directly related to the war. We're going to go to the front lines here in a bit to discuss them. But first, this article is one that I very much want to cover. Let me pull it up right quick. Should have already had it pulled up, but this is something that I consider to be incredibly important. Actually, there's two articles, and we're not going to read both of them all the way through, but I'm going to link both of them so you can see them all. You can see and compare the two. So from last month, from 1 month ago, I want you to think about this as I put it on the screen, everyone. There is only a 1 month difference in both of these policies relating to this group that we have talked about, who we openly support on this channel, and who apparently, if I go to the Republic of Georgia, I could be complicit in assisting a, quote, terrorist organization. The Georgian Legion, actively fighting to defend the sovereignty of Georgia, prevent it from falling into the Russosphere. Actively fighting for and alongside the Ukrainian armed forces, has been labeled by the nation of Georgia, the Russian Dream Party, as a terrorist organization. Let's go ahead and get this article pulled up. Now, the reason I say there's a 1 month difference is because the article I'm about to pull up is just 1 month apart from this article you're about to see now. This is from civil.ge, a Georgian news outlet in Republic of Georgia. And here's the article. So this should not be of any surprise to anyone, though, because remember, guys, every single group involved in the Ukrainian armed forces, all of them that we have ever made donations to, the entire country of Ukraine as a whole. If I go to Russia right now, I'm considered a funder of terrorism. If I go to Belarus right now, I would likely be considered a funder of terrorism under their illegal governments. The fact of the matter is, this is war. These are labels. These are alarmist labels meant to instill fear in people. This is a strategy that every country, and I do mean every country of influence in the modern era, uses. And yeah, it's what's most disheartening to me, though, is the fact that what you can see here, Russia puts Georgian National Legion on terrorist organizations watch list. Let's see here. Oh, jeez. You know what? We're going to have more than one article pulled up, and we're going to link them all in chat, because now I'm having to, unless they retracted it, because I was looking on this exact same website the other day at this article. Let's see. News about the Georgian Legion. Here we go. Here we go. No, perhaps they retracted it. You know what? I sent this to someone over a messaging app. We're going to see if this gives me a 404 not found error, or if I'm find that the article is just no longer featured on the website. But either way, we're going to pull this up. Yeah, this is from just 4 days ago. Why this is no longer highlighted on their website, I find that rather interesting and a bit disconcerting. Unless maybe, oh, no, I just didn't scroll down enough. That's on me. However, another article that I was looking at does appear to have been removed. All right. Sorry for the wait. Let's go ahead and pull this up now. Now, the other two articles, also from civil.ge, that I want to bring to everyone's attention related to this are titles. Pro-government media reports on alleged terrorism plot against Ivanishvili as Georgian fighters in Ukraine are questioned. And analysis. Could a Belarus-style crackdown occur in Georgia? Again, for U.S. viewers, this is in reference to the sovereign nation-state Republic of Georgia and not the U.S. state of Georgia. All right, let's take a look at this. So this is the emblem of the Georgian National Legion. The Federal Security Service of the Russian Federation added the Georgian National Legion to the list of terrorist organizations on the basis of the decision of the Southern District Military Court, which came into force on May 4th. The Georgian Legion is a prominent group of around 700 to 1,000 fighters, mostly Georgian, but also other foreign volunteers who have been fighting in Ukraine since 2014, since the beginning. Well, the beginning of hot conflict, of open warfare, involvement in hybrid warfare leading up to the 2014 attack on Crimea. That I don't have as much information about. But since 2014, definitely, they have had members involved. The Georgian Legion has been fighting against Russia. In February 2016, the Legion was integrated into the Ukrainian Armed Forces structure. Based on the evidence collected by the FSB, the Southern District Military Court recognized the paramilitary formation Georgian National Legion as a terrorist organization in accordance with this decision and the federal law on, quote, countering terrorism, which is a laughable claim from Moscovia. The formation was included in the Unified Federal List of organizations, including foreign and international ones, recognized as terrorist organizations under the legislation of the Russian Federation. Its activities are prohibited in Russia. The FSB reported to Russian state-owned media outlet TASS. The commander of the Georgian Legion, Mamuka Mamulashvili, who was sentenced to prison in absentia by Russia last year and placed on its wanted list, told RFE-RL's Georgian service, "This is a sign of our effective work, which will continue, and the Georgian Legion will certainly celebrate its inclusion in Russia's terrorist list today." Mamulashvili recently said he was poisoned, supposedly by Russian special services. So, there was another article talking about accusation. Oh, well, here's the article relating to the pro-government outlets in Georgia reporting on this. Pro-government media reports on alleged terrorism plot against Ivanishvili as Georgian fighters in Ukraine are questioned. On July 23rd, another Georgian fighter in Ukraine, Gila Kakabrishvili, was questioned before a magistrate judge in the Tbilisi City Court in the classified investigation by the State Security Service on alleged insurrection, state, and terrorism. Following the questioning, the comments made by Kakabrishvili and his lawyer, Mikhail Ramishvili, to the media were presented by the pro-government media as proof that there has been an alleged plot to commit a terrorist attack against the honorary chairman of the Georgian Dream Party, Bizdina Ivanishvili, and other high-ranking officials of the Georgian Dream. Quote, a terrorist act is being prepared against Bidzina Ivanishvili and other leaders of the Georgian Dream. This statement was made by lawyer Mikhail Ramishvili a short time ago. Imedi TV anchor announced in a sensational manner. The channel's correspondent at the Tbilisi City Court said the 4-day silence has been broken. The questioned individuals and their lawyers can no longer hide the main details of the case. The questioned Gela Kakabrishvili made the information public a short time ago and confirmed that the State Security Service is investigating the terrorist plot against Bidzina Ivanishvili. Other pro-government media echoed the narrative. So, I'll have to pull up an additional article, I believe. But in addition to this, the questioning, the Georgian Legion has, by the Russian Dream government, been listed as a terrorist organization by the Republic of Georgia currently, to much controversy, as you can imagine. And this is something that multiple writers have been analyzing, multiple geopolitics individual experts as well as think tanks that I keep a pulse on, and it's not looking good, guys. Republic of Georgia, it's already been known that it's the most vulnerable of all the nations in the area. The Caucasus is in a dire situation, whether it be Georgia or Armenia. But the fact of the matter is that, yeah, Republic of Georgia is slowly going down the path of Belarus, and that might start speeding up sooner, especially with elections coming in October. This is important. It does relate to the war. It relates to the war possibly expanding. It relates to the possibility of a more Russian appeasing Republic of Georgia, either willingly, well, not willingly, the people wouldn't willingly, but the current acting government willingly becoming a puppet state of Russia, from which attacks could be launched from Georgian territory, for example, occupied territory, or puppet government-controlled territory on Ukraine, or as simple a situation as international political support at the UN, stronger political support against Ukraine and against international norms. So I hope we see things change in Republic of Georgia, because as you all know, Belarusian fighters in Ukraine basically exist as one of the last lines of defense against the brutal dictatorship in their home country, and it's becoming a situation where it looks like the Georgian Legion may end up in a similar situation, may end up being one of the last foreign diaspora groups willing to fight for their country. And by fight, I mean not just in protest, but also taking up arms. We shall see as time goes on. All right. Now, with that, we've been going for more than an hour. James is currently on his stream, and I'm here also. I'm over there as well. Some of you might see me. Yeah. So, anyway, it looks like the poll is done. So the shills won. But we're still going to do something for Yulia and Merck as well. Ending the poll, checking on questions. Do you know why? Okay, a question from It Wasn't Me. Do you know why Russia has banned the export of sugar to foreign countries? I mean, why sugar? To be honest, I hadn't heard about that. I mean, it could be for any number of reasons. I'm guess it. Well, you know what? The simplest answer I can come up with would just be maybe they don't have enough of it themselves, and with all of the international sanctions, I would think that sugar would be something that you could get from just about anyone, like including countries that don't give a damn about the sanctions, like Iran, and have done business with Russia more extensively in recent years. But then again, maybe Iran doesn't have a lot of sugar right now. Maybe they're having trouble finding a neighbor who's willing to sell them sugar and willing to risk journalistic investigations that create a little bit of a headache for them. I think the official line is just to defend domestic food supply. I think they're not exporting because whatever they're producing they need for their own citizens, because they screwed up their economy even more and put themselves and everyone within Moscovia, within the so-called federation, um, into into even worse economic straits than they already were in. Thank you for a great question. So yeah, that would be my answer. My guess would be that, I mean, it would be weird why other things haven't been cut that are more substantial for people's nutrition aside from sugar, but perhaps there are a few other things that just aren't being reported on as much. Maybe it's just a trend with their food supply in general, cutting exports down little by little. And this just happens to be one that's been banned entirely as a signal that they may ban other exports that would be more controversial to countries who receive them, like grain, for example, or things that actually help to keep people alive that are that have more nutrition. Um, yeah, thank you for a good question. All right. Oh, hey, Nate W. Welcome. Thanks for being here. Now then, all right. We're going to go ahead and shift away now from news articles and do a quick update on what's happening at the front. Then we'll make our donations and close out the stream, everybody. All right, 1 second. Okay, actually, first, we're going to knock one thing out. That's donation for our fundraiser, our drone fundraiser, because that's quick and easy for me to close. All right, so that's done. We'll come to the donation for the shills momentarily. All right, and yeah, of course. Thank you for a great question. Let's go ahead and move over now to, it's going to be the best way to do this. Let's do new window. Let's see. I think browser is going to be the best way to do this. All right. We'll do a brief update from Jesse. Won't go through the whole video, just a little bit from the opening to get an idea of what's happening at the front lines. Ooh. Most recent update to OBS seems to make things a little easier for me with some of the settings. Let's see. Or maybe not. All right, let's see. All right. I'm going to press play. Let me know if audio sounds good in chat.
Day 881 of the Ukrainian war map, also known as the Russo-Ukrainian War. Juzzy here, and today is another update as I take a simplified and down-to-earth approach to some of the most important happenings on the ground in Ukraine. So starting off, we'll take a look at those Russian losses, as currently Russia sits on more than 571,000 military personnel losses, representing an additional 1,230 in the past day. Then as for hardware losses, so 11 tanks, 26 APVs, 45 artillery, and 2 more air defense systems. And as far as the tank losses go, new data has shown that the 1960s T-62 tanks account for 26% of all Russian tanks lost this month. As you can see there, with an upwards climb at the end, eclipsing even the elimination rate of from way back when they were first introduced.
Yeah, hold on. Just want to. Yeah, this is something I've been following, and tank losses are a huge thing. The fact that they may actually run out of usable tanks sometime soon on the enemy side, which is crazy. Also, the fact that approximate losses are nearing 600,000 personnel on the Muscovite side. I do believe this number, as this war continues, will climb closer to 1 million. Whether it goes beyond a million, we shall see. It all depends on how long and how intense the fighting continues to be over the next minimum, I would say, year or two. I don't see this war ending within 6 months.
By Russia 6 months into the war, when Russia lost all of the Kherson North Bank, and so many T-62s along with it. Now, additional data has also shown us that these older tanks were initially used for mostly training purposes, but are now being increasingly deployed, leading to significant losses, which can also equate to hardware desperation on face value. Also noted through open source satellite reports is how the rate of removal of all tanks from Soviet stockpiles has slowed significantly and is now insufficient to compensate for battlefield losses. Then headed across to the map for today, so drones reportedly attacked the Kursk Republic, or at least the Oblast for now, with several blasts reported and a fireball seen overnight, despite air defenses being activated. Then just north of here, a Russian Mi-28 helicopter crashed in the Kaluga region, as stated by the Russian Ministry of Defense. A technical malfunction was named as the reason for this such crash, which is something I don't doubt. In fact, a recent RAND report surmised that due to the wear and tear from the constant overusage of Russian airframes, Russia is expected to lose about 60 military aircraft per annum from technical malfunctions like this one, due to end-of-service life issues. Again, this is for non-war related incidents, 60 per annum, and that report was only considering jet planes, not even talking about helicopters. So it's likely that there's a lot more crashed aircraft out there that we've never heard about and will never hear about. Then headed into the main map to some of the obviously biggest news for the day, as the 79th Air Assault Brigade of Ukraine repelled a massive Russian assault near Novomikhailivka in the Kharkova direction. The attack involved 11 tanks, 45 armoured personnel carriers, 1 BMP-T, Terminator, motorcycles, and approximately 200 infantry. Ukrainian forces responded with artillery, anti-tank missiles, and drone strikes. All in all, the Russian army lost 13 armoured vehicles, including 6 tanks and 7 APVs, 12 motorcycles, and suffered nearly 100 soldier infantry eliminations, including wounded. Then, after initial losses, remaining Russian forces retreated with Ukrainian drones targeting fleeing units or personnel. And so, this latest engagement is considered one of the largest assaults of the full-scale war in this area, which I'm also sure Russia spent a lot of time in planning for such an offensive, or at least particularly in terms of building up a small army to see if they could make a breakthrough. I mean, they even brought out the BMP-T Terminator, one of about 4 prototypes within the Russian army, and 2 or 3 of them have already been destroyed, which tends to signify that the Russian command was serious about making some breakthrough gains in this region. But the AFU spotted them coming from a mile away, possibly 3 to 5 miles away, due to constant surveilling of the area and being exceptionally well equipped to defend against a concerted effort of armor from Russia. Then into the northeast as Polish telegrammer Radov, who is close to sources on the ground, confirmed some AFU land promotion on the southern outskirts of Staritsa, taking out a chunk of defended Russian positions. Then headed all the way down on the map as Russia continues to add barges adjacent to the Crimean Bridge to act as a barrier against Ukraine's naval drones, with the Crimean Bridge being a crucial 19-kilometer or 12-mile supply route connecting.
Just want to pause and say that, yeah, this is good to see. Anything relating to the Kerch Bridge, again and again, being brought down, always welcome to see. That being said, of course, ultimately, being able to encircle and retake Crimea is going to be the big thing. And naval operations are going to play a huge part in Ukraine's capacity to do that in the future, I think. All right, I'll let everyone, I already put it in chat, so I'll let everyone kind of watch the rest of the video on their own time. We're actually running low on time. I got to go. So here's what we're going to do. First, thank you to everyone who joined in donations to our fundraiser. I will be on with the shills later, and when I am, I'm going to make the donation for the Boom Boom Fund. I believe it's a Portuguese battalion currently that we're supporting on the shills. So definitely check out the stream later today. In fact, I'll go ahead and put a link to that. Yeah, I'll put a link to that into the chat right now. And I'll see about making the rest of those donations to, let's see, both, I hope I closed the poll already, but here we go. To both Yulia and Andrew, one of his initiatives, when I get a chance to talk with him later today. Thank you for being here, everybody. And yeah, Slava Ukraini, you're all wonderful. Have a great day. All right. And perfect. All right. Closing out the stream now. Bye, everybody.